A little girl calling in her wealthy father to say her back hurts. What he finds when he rushes home will shake him to his core and force him to confront the darkest secret hiding in his own home. So sit back, relax, and let this story unfold. I hope it brings you comfort tonight and reminds you of what truly matters in life. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories like this, please subscribe to our channel and stay with me until the very end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I'd love to see just how far this story travels across the world. Now let's begin. Vanessa Thompson pressed her phone between her shoulder and ear while her 8-year-old stepdaughter screamed for help 2 floors below. She heard the crash. She heard the crying. She heard little Eli wailing for his sister, and she laughed into the phone at something her friend Diane said about a yoga instructor. "Girl, you should see his arms," Diane was saying. "I swear I almost fell out of downward dog just staring at him." Vanessa giggled and reached for her lipstick. "Stop it! You're terrible!" Another crash echoed from downstairs, louder this time. Then silence. Then crying. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Hold on, Diane. These kids are making noise again." She walked to the top of the stairs and shouted down, "Zoe, keep your brother quiet. I'm on the phone." No response came. Just more crying. Vanessa shook her head and returned to her mirror. "Anyway, what were you saying about his arms?" Downstairs, 8-year-old Zoe Thompson lay on the kitchen floor, surrounded by broken glass and spilled milk. Her 3-year-old brother Eli sat beside her, patting her face with his chubby hands, crying because his sister wouldn't get up. Zoe's back had given out. She had been carrying Eli for 3 hours straight because he wouldn't stop crying, and Vanessa had threatened to lock him in his room if Zoe didn't keep him quiet. Now Zoe couldn't move. The pain in her lower back was so sharp that every breath felt like fire. Glass had cut her palms when she tried to break her fall. Milk soaked through her dress, and all she could think about was how angry Vanessa would be when she saw the mess. She had to clean it up. She had to fix it before Vanessa came downstairs. She had to be useful or else. Zoe forced herself onto her hands and knees. The pain made her cry out, but she bit her lip to muffle the sound. Crying was not allowed in this house. Vanessa had made that very clear. Thompson women don't cry. That was what Vanessa always said. Your father doesn't want to see tears. Neither do I. If you can't control yourself, you're no better than an animal. Zoe was 8 years old. She had been hearing those words for 2 years. She believed them now. Eli grabbed onto her neck, still crying, still terrified. Zoe tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. She collapsed again this time, landing on more glass. She felt something sharp slice into her knee, but she didn't scream. She couldn't scream. Vanessa would hear. But she needed help. She needed her daddy. Zoe crawled across the kitchen floor, dragging Eli with her, leaving a trail of milk and blood on the white tiles. She reached the counter where Vanessa's spare phone sat charging. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it, but she managed to dial the one number she had memorized since she was 5 years old. Her father's cell phone. Marcus Thompson was presenting the biggest deal of his career when his phone buzzed. He ignored it. $50 million sat on the table. Investors from New York and Chicago filled the conference room. His entire team had worked for 3 months to prepare this pitch. Nothing could interrupt it. His phone buzzed again. Marcus kept talking. The projected returns show a 340% increase over 5 years. With the Urban Renewal Initiative bringing new residents into the downtown corridor, this development will essentially pay for itself within... His phone buzzed a third time. Marcus felt something cold run down his spine. He glanced at the screen. Zoe. His daughter never called during the day. His daughter barely called at all. She was so quiet, so self-sufficient, so remarkably independent that sometimes Marcus forgot she was still a child. Vanessa always praised how mature Zoe was. She handles everything, Vanessa would say. You don't have to worry about a thing. But Zoe never called during the day. "Excuse me," Marcus said to the room. "I need to take this." The lead investor from New York frowned. "We're in the middle of..." "I know, it's my daughter. One moment." Marcus stepped into the hallway and answered, "Hello, Zoe." The voice that came through the phone was barely recognizable. It was tiny, trembling, broken. "Daddy, my back hurts. I can't hold Eli anymore. I tried, but he's too heavy, and I fell, and there's glass everywhere, and Mommy left, and she said not to bother her, and I tried to clean it up, but I can't, and my back hurts. Daddy, please, my back really hurts." Marcus's heart stopped. "What do you mean, Mommy left?" "Where's Vanessa? She went to get her nails done. She said she'd be back later. She said I had to watch Eli and keep him quiet and not bother her. But Daddy, I dropped him, and now he's crying, and I can't make him stop, and my back hurts so bad I can't stand up. Marcus was already running toward the elevator. How long has Vanessa been gone? I don't know. It was morning when she left. What time is it now? It's almost 4 o'clock. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. She left you alone with Eli for 7 hours. She does that sometimes. Zoe's voice was getting weaker. Daddy, I'm really tired. Can you come home, please? I'm coming right now. Stay on the phone with me. I'm coming. There was a crash on Zoe's end, then a scream. Then Eli crying louder than before. Zoe Marcus shouted into the phone, Zoe, what happened? I dropped the phone. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pick it up, but my hands are slippery. There's something on them. I think maybe it's... The line went dead. Marcus ran. He didn't wait for the elevator. He took the stairs 3 at a time, his expensive Italian shoes pounding against the concrete. He burst through the lobby doors and sprinted to his car. He drove like a man possessed, running red lights, cutting off trucks, nearly sideswiping a bus on Peachtree Street. His mind was racing faster than the car. 7 hours. Vanessa had left an 8-year-old alone with a toddler for 7 hours, while she got her nails done, while his daughter's back gave out from carrying a 3-year-old, while his baby girl fell on broken glass and bled on the kitchen floor. How many times had this happened before the question hit Marcus like a physical blow? How many times had Vanessa left the children alone? How many times had Zoe carried burdens that no child should carry? How many times had his daughter called him only to have him silence the phone because he was in a meeting he couldn't remember? He had silenced so many calls over the years, important calls, calls from his daughter, calls that might have been exactly like this one. What else had he missed? Marcus pulled up to the mansion and slammed on the brakes. The front door was wide open. Rain from the afternoon storm had blown inside, soaking the marble entryway. The alarm wasn't set. The house looked abandoned. He ran inside, his wet shoes slipping on the floor. Zoe, Eli. Where are you? The crying led him to the kitchen. What he found there would haunt him for the rest of his life. His daughter lay crumpled on the floor. Her dress was soaked with milk and spotted with blood. Her hands were cut and bleeding. Her eyes were closed. And clinging to her back, still crying, still terrified, was 3-year-old Eli. Zoe had passed out, but her arms were still wrapped around her brother. Even unconscious, she was still trying to protect him. Marcus fell to his knees beside her. Zoe, wake up. Daddy's here. Wake up, sweetheart. Her eyes fluttered open. Daddy, I'm here. I've got you. I've got both of you. He lifted Eli off her back and set him aside. The toddler immediately started crawling back toward his sister, crying her name. Zozo hurt. Marcus scooped Zoe into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. When had she gotten so thin? When had the baby fat melted from her cheeks? When had those dark circles appeared under her eyes? I'm sorry, Daddy, Zoe whispered. I tried to clean it up. I didn't want Mommy to be mad. She gets so mad when I make messes. This isn't your fault. Marcus's voice was shaking. None of this is your fault. But I dropped Eli, and I broke the glass, and I got blood on the floor. She's going to yell at me. She always yells at me. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. She yells at you when I do things wrong, when I'm too slow, when I cry. She says I'm useless just like my real mommy was. She says I should be grateful she lets me live here at all. Marcus couldn't breathe. Those words, those vicious, cruel words, spoken to his 8-year-old daughter by the woman he had married, the woman he had trusted to care for his children. How long has this been happening? Marcus asked quietly. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. Since Mommy died. Since Vanessa came to live with us. She was nice at first, but then she changed. She said I had to earn my place. She said if I told you, she would make sure I got sent away to boarding school and I would never see Eli again. Marcus held his daughter tighter. You're not going anywhere. I promise you. You're staying right here with me. But what about Vanessa? Vanessa is never coming near you again. Marcus called 911. He called his assistant and told her to cancel every meeting for the next month. He called his lawyer and demanded emergency documentation. He called the security company and ordered all footage from the past 6 months sent directly to his personal email. Then he called Vanessa. She answered on the second ring, her voice light and cheerful. Marcus, honey, I was just thinking about you. You'll never guess what color I got for my nails. It's called Sunset Passion, and it's absolutely... Where are you? Marcus's voice was ice. Vanessa paused. At the salon. Why is something wrong? Something wrong. Marcus almost laughed. Something wrong. Our daughter is on her way to the hospital because her back gave out from carrying Eli all day. Our daughter has cuts all over her hands from broken glass. Our daughter just told me that you've been calling her useless and threatening to send her away. So yes, Vanessa, something is very wrong. The silence on the other end lasted 3 full seconds. When Vanessa spoke again, her voice had changed completely. The sweetness was gone. The charm was gone. In its place was something cold and defensive. That child is a liar. She's been trying to turn you against me since the day I moved in. She's jealous of our relationship. She wants me gone. She's 8 years old. She's manipulative, just like her mother was. Maya always had you wrapped around her finger, and now her daughter is doing the same thing. I'm your wife, Marcus. I'm the one who's been running this household. I'm the one who hosts your dinner parties and entertains your clients and makes you look good. What does that child do except sulk and cry and demand attention? Marcus gripped the phone so hard his knuckles turned white. What did you just say about Maya? I said what I said. Maya was weak. She died and left you with 2 needy children, and I've been picking up the pieces ever since. You should be thanking me, not accusing me. Thanking you. Marcus's voice rose. Thanking you for abandoning my children for 7 hours while you got your nails done. Thanking you for calling my daughter useless. Thanking you for threatening an 8-year-old. Thanking you for making my baby girl believe that she had to earn her place in her own home. Those children needed discipline, Vanessa shot back. You were never around to provide it. Someone had to teach them how the world works. The world Zoe is 8. The only thing she needs to learn is that she's loved and protected and safe. And I just found out that she's had none of those things. Because of you, because of me, Vanessa laughed bitterly. I'm the only reason that house functions at all. Without me, you'd be living in chaos. Those children would be running wild. Your entire image would collapse. I don't care about my image. I care about my daughter. Well, that's a change. When's the last time you actually came home before midnight, Marcus? When's the last time you read her a bedtime story or ate dinner with her or asked about her day? You talk about being a father, but you're never there. I'm the one who's been there, every single day. You've been there to hurt her. Marcus was shouting now. You've been there to bully her and overwork her and break her spirit, and I was too blind to see it. Vanessa's voice turned sharp. Watch your tone with me. I'm still your wife. I have rights in this marriage, and I'm not about to let some melodramatic child destroy everything I've built. Everything you've built. Marcus stared at the phone in disbelief. You didn't build anything, Vanessa. I built the company. I built the wealth. I built the reputation. You just spent the money. How dare you? No, how dare you? Marcus cut her off. I want you out of my house by tonight. I'm filing for divorce in the morning. And if you come anywhere near my children again, I will use every resource I have to make sure you regret it. You'll regret this, Marcus. Vanessa's voice was venomous. You think you can just throw me away? I'll take everything. The house, the cars, the accounts. By the time my lawyers are finished with you, you won't have enough left to buy those children a pack of crayons. Take it, Marcus said quietly. Take it all. I don't care, but you're not taking them. And you're not taking any more pieces of my daughter's soul. We're done. He hung up the phone and threw it across the room. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. The paramedics were professional and kind. They examined Zoe thoroughly, checking her back, cleaning her cuts, assessing her vital signs. The lead paramedic, a woman with gray hair and compassionate eyes, pulled Marcus aside. Mr. Thompson, I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. Anything. Your daughter has muscle strain in her lower back, consistent with carrying heavy loads repeatedly. She has calluses on her hands that I would not expect to see on a child her age. She shows signs of exhaustion and possible malnutrition, and she has bruising on her upper arms that looks like grab marks. Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. Grab marks. Like someone grabbed her hard and shook her. The paramedic's voice was gentle but firm. Mr. Thompson, I've been doing this job for 22 years. I've seen a lot of things, and what I'm seeing here concerns me. Has someone been hurting this child? Marcus couldn't speak. The answer was yes. The answer was obviously yes, but admitting it out loud meant admitting that he had failed his daughter in the most fundamental way possible. Her stepmother, Marcus finally said. I just found out. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. The paramedic nodded slowly. I believe you. But we're going to need to document everything. And Child Protective Services will probably want to speak with you. Whatever it takes, Marcus said. Whatever I need to do to protect her. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed what the paramedic had suspected. Zoe had muscle strain, minor laceration signs of chronic exhaustion, and evidence of long-term stress. A child psychologist was called in to evaluate her. While Zoe was being examined, Marcus sat in the waiting room with Eli on his lap. The toddler had finally stopped crying, but he kept looking around for his sister. Zozo, Eli said, his lower lip trembling. Where's Zozo? She's with the doctors, Marcus said softly. They're making her feel better. Zozo hurt, Eli said matter-of-factly. Mean lady hurt Zozo. Marcus froze. Mean lady? Yeah. The mean lady, she yells at Zozo, makes Zozo cry. Does the mean lady yell at you too? Eli shook his head. Zozo says hide. When mean lady yells, Zozo says hide in closet. So I hide. Then Zozo comes to get me when it's safe. Marcus felt his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. His 8-year-old daughter had been protecting his 3-year-old son from his own wife. Zoe had been shielding Eli, taking the abuse herself so that her baby brother wouldn't have to. How long had this been happening? The child psychologist, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Williams, approached Marcus an hour later. Mr. Thompson, may I speak with you privately? They stepped into a small consultation room. Dr. Williams sat across from him, her expression serious. I've spent the past hour talking with Zoe. She's a remarkable child, intelligent, articulate, and incredibly protective of her brother, but she's also deeply traumatized. Traumatized? The word hit Marcus like a punch. She described a pattern of emotional abuse from her stepmother that appears to have been going on for at least 2 years. Name-calling, threats, excessive work demands, isolation from friends, and a constant message that she needed to earn her place in the family or risk being sent away. Marcus put his head in his hands. I had no idea. Zoe said she was afraid to tell you. She said her stepmother convinced her that you would be angry, that you would choose your wife over her, that she would be sent to boarding school and never see her brother again. That's insane. I would never... I know, Dr. Williams said gently. But Zoe didn't know that. Children who are being abused often believe the threats their abusers make, especially when the abuse comes from a parental figure. They're taught to doubt their own perceptions and to fear the consequences of speaking up. How do I fix this? Marcus asked desperately. How do I make this right? You can't fix it overnight, Dr. Williams said honestly. Trauma doesn't work that way, but you can start the healing process. Zoe needs to see that you believe her, that you're on her side, that she's safe now and will never be hurt like this again. She needs consistency, patience, and unconditional love. I can do that. You also need to be prepared for setbacks. Dr. Williams continued. Zoe has spent 2 years learning to be invisible, to take care of everyone else, to suppress her own needs. That's not going to change overnight. She may test you. She may push you away. She may have nightmares or anxiety attacks or moments of regression. You need to be ready for all of it. I'll be ready, Marcus said firmly. I'll do whatever it takes. Dr. Williams smiled slightly. That's exactly what Zoe needs to hear. Marcus spent that night in the hospital with his children. Zoe was admitted for observation and Marcus refused to leave her side. He sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, holding her hand while she slept, watching the rise and fall of her chest. At some point after midnight, his phone buzzed. It was a text from the security company. Footage uploaded. 6 months. 847 files. Marcus's stomach churned. 847 files. 6 months of security footage from inside his own home. 6 months of evidence showing what had really been happening while he was at work. He opened the first file. It showed Zoe waking up at 5 a.m. She crept out of bed quietly, careful not to wake anyone. She made her way to the kitchen and started preparing Eli's bottle. She was wearing the same clothes from the day before. Marcus opened the next file. Vanessa was shouting at Zoe for spilling juice on the counter. Zoe stood frozen, her eyes downcast, while Vanessa called her stupid, useless, worthless. The next file. Zoe was scrubbing the kitchen floor on her hands and knees while Vanessa lounged on the couch scrolling through her phone. The next file. Vanessa grabbed Zoe's arm and shook her hard. I told you to keep him quiet. What is wrong with you? The next file. Zoe was crying in her room alone, hugging a pillow. She was whispering something over and over. I miss you, Mommy. I miss you, Mommy. I miss you. Marcus watched file after file after file. Each one was worse than the last. Each one showed a different piece of the nightmare his daughter had been living. At 3 a.m., he found a file that made him stop breathing. It was from 2 months ago. Vanessa was standing over Zoe, who was cowering against the wall. I could make you disappear, Vanessa was saying. I could send you to boarding school in another country. I could tell your father that you're a problem child who needs professional help. He'd believe me. He always believes me. You know why? Because he doesn't care about you. He cares about his work. You're just an inconvenience he has to deal with because your mother died. That's not true. Zoe's voice was small but defiant. My daddy loves me. Vanessa laughed. Love? Well, if your father doesn't know what love is. He married me for my looks and my connections. He had children because it's what successful men do, but love, please. You're delusional. Just like your mother was. My mommy loved me. Your mother is dead. Vanessa's voice was cruel. And dead people can't protect you. Only I can. So you're going to do exactly what I say when I say it, or I'll make sure you regret it. Do you understand? Zoe nodded, tears streaming down her face. Good. Now clean up this mess. Your father's clients are coming for dinner, and this house needs to be spotless. Move it. Marcus closed the file. He couldn't watch anymore. He sat in the darkness of the hospital room, tears running down his face, listening to his daughter breathe. For 2 years this had been happening. For 2 years his child had been terrorized, threatened, and broken by the woman he had chosen to bring into their home. And he had noticed nothing. He had been too busy, too focused on work, too convinced that everything was fine because Vanessa always said everything was fine. He had outsourced his fatherhood to a woman who despised his children, and he had called it success. I'm sorry, Marcus whispered to his sleeping daughter. I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. I should have protected you. I should have been here. Zoe didn't respond. She just slept, her small hand curled around his fingers. Marcus made a vow in that moment, a vow he would keep for the rest of his life. He would never let anyone hurt his children again. He would never let work be more important than his family again. He would never let his daughter carry burdens that weren't hers to carry again. And he would spend every day for the rest of his days earning back the trust he had so carelessly thrown away. The next morning, Marcus's lawyer arrived at the hospital with a stack of documents. I've drafted the divorce papers. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, laid them out on a table. Based on the evidence you've sent me, we have grounds for immediate separation and full custody of both children. Vanessa won't have a leg to stand on. Good, Marcus said. I want her gone. Today. Already handled. Patricia smiled grimly. I had a process server meet her at the house this morning. She's been served with divorce papers and a restraining order. She has 24 hours to collect her personal belongings and vacate the premises. If she contacts you or the children, she'll be arrested. What about the assets? That's where it gets interesting. Patricia pulled out another document. Vanessa signed a prenuptial agreement when you got married. She's entitled to a lump sum settlement, but nothing close to what she was expecting. Based on her behavior, we might even be able to challenge that. I don't care about the money, Marcus said. I just want her away from my children. That I can guarantee. Patricia stood to leave. Take care of those kids, Marcus. They've been through enough. After Patricia left, Marcus went back to Zoe's room. She was awake now, sitting up in bed, looking out the window. Good morning, sweetheart, Marcus said softly. How are you feeling? Better, Zoe said. My back still hurts, but not as bad. That's good. The doctors say you can go home today. Zoe's face fell. Home, Marcus understood immediately. Don't worry, Vanessa won't be there. She's gone. Forever. It's just going to be us now. Just us. Just us. You, me, and Eli. Zoe was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked the question that had clearly been weighing on her mind. Are you mad at me, Daddy? Mad at you? Marcus was stunned. Why would I be mad at you? Because I told you about Vanessa. Because I made trouble. Because you had to leave your meeting. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed and took her hands in his. Zoe, look at me. She looked up, her eyes wide and uncertain. You are the most important person in my life. You and Eli. Nothing else even comes close. Not my work, not my meetings, not anything. And I am so proud of you for calling me yesterday. That was the bravest thing you could have done. But Vanessa said, Vanessa was wrong about everything. You are not useless. You are not a burden. You are not a problem. You are my daughter, my amazing, strong, beautiful daughter. And I'm sorry I wasn't there to tell you that every single day. Zoe's lower lip trembled. I thought you didn't love me anymore. I thought that's why you were never home. Marcus felt tears burning his eyes. I have always loved you. Every single second of every single day. I just got lost for a while. I forgot what really mattered. But I remember now, and I'm never going to forget again. Promise, I promise. Zoe launched herself into his arms. She sobbed against his chest, finally releasing years of pain and fear and loneliness. Marcus held her tight, letting his own tears fall, not caring who saw. They stayed like that for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, Zoe wiped her eyes and gave him a small smile. Daddy? Yes, sweetheart, I'm glad you came home. Marcus smiled back, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. So am I, baby, so am I. That afternoon, the Thompson family went home. But they didn't go home to the same house they had left. Something had fundamentally changed. The expensive furniture was the same. The marble floors were unchanged. But the energy was different. Vanessa's presence had been erased. Her photographs were gone. Her perfume bottles were packed away. The house felt lighter somehow. Cleaner. Marcus carried Zoe through the front door even though she insisted she could walk. Eli toddled behind them, clutching a stuffed elephant with one hand and his father's pant leg with the other. "Welcome home," Marcus said. Zoe looked around, her eyes lingering on the bare walls where Vanessa's photographs used to hang. "It feels different," she said. "Good different or bad different?" "Good different. Like it's finally ours." Marcus nodded. "That's exactly what it is. Ours." The first night was chaos. Marcus had never cooked dinner without a staff or takeout. He attempted spaghetti and somehow managed to burn the sauce, overcook the noodles, and undercook the garlic bread simultaneously. Zoe watched him struggle and finally stepped in. "You have to stir it, Daddy, otherwise it sticks to the bottom." Marcus laughed. "How do you know that?" Zoe shrugged. "I learned." The simple words carried enormous weight. She had learned because she had been forced to learn, because no one else was going to feed her brother, because survival had demanded skills that no 8-year-old should need. "Well," Marcus said, swallowing his guilt, "now it's my turn to learn, and you're going to teach me." They ate burned spaghetti at the kitchen table. Eli got sauce all over his face and giggled when Marcus tried to wipe it off. Zoe ate slowly, savoring each bite as if she couldn't quite believe this was real. After dinner, Marcus tackled the dishes while Zoe gave Eli a bath. He could hear them laughing in the bathroom, Eli splashing water everywhere while Zoe pretended to scold him. When bedtime came, Marcus faced a new challenge. He hadn't put his children to bed in months, maybe years. Eli was easy, 2 songs and a story, and he was asleep before Marcus finished the last page. But Zoe was different. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, clearly thinking about something. "What's on your mind?" Marcus asked, sitting on the edge of her mattress. "Do you think Mommy is mad at me?" Zoe asked quietly. "Maya." "Yeah, my real Mommy." "Why would she be mad at you?" Zoe picked at her blanket. "Because I let Vanessa be mean to me. Because I didn't fight back. Because I cried sometimes, even though Vanessa said I wasn't supposed to." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Can I tell you something about your mother?" Zoe nodded. "Your mother cried. All the time. Happy tears, sad tears, frustrated tears. She cried at movies and commercials, and the first time she saw you walk across the room, she used to say that tears were just feelings that got too big to hold inside. Really, really." Marcus took his daughter's hand. "And you know what else? Your mother would never be mad at you for surviving. She would be so proud of you. You took care of your brother. You kept going when everything was hard. You did impossible things, Zoe. Then why does my back still hurt?" Marcus understood the deeper question. Because you carried too much for too long. And now you need time to heal. Will you help me every step of the way? Zoe closed her eyes. "Okay, Daddy." Marcus stayed with her until she fell asleep. Then he went to his own room and sat on the edge of his bed. The closet was half empty. The bathroom counter was cleared of expensive creams. The bedroom felt bigger, lonelier, but also cleaner. Marcus picked up his phone and made a call he had been putting off for years. "James, it's Marcus. I need help." His college roommate, now a child psychologist, listened as Marcus poured out the entire story. When he finished, James was quiet for a long moment. "You did the right thing calling me," James finally said. "Zoe is going to need professional help to work through this. So are you, me. You just found out that your wife was abusing your daughter for 2 years while you were at work. That kind of guilt doesn't just go away. You need to process it, or it's going to eat you alive. I don't have time for therapy. I have to focus on the kids." "Marcus," James's voice was firm, "you can't pour from an empty cup. If you burn yourself out, you won't be any good to Zoe or Eli. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary." Marcus closed his eyes. "Fine. I'll find someone. I'll send you some names." "And Marcus, yeah, you're not a bad father. You made mistakes, but you're trying to fix them. That counts for something. Does it count enough?" "It's a start." That night, Marcus dreamed about Maya. She was standing in the garden the way she used to before she got sick. Sunlight was streaming through the leaves, and she was laughing at something Zoe had said. Marcus tried to walk toward her, but his feet wouldn't move. "I'm sorry," he called out. "I should have protected her. I should have been there." Maya turned to look at him. Her eyes were sad, but not angry. "You're there now," she said. "That's what matters." "Is it enough?" Maya smiled. "It's never too late to be the father she needs." Marcus woke up with tears on his face. He got out of bed and walked down the hall to Zoe's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her arm wrapped around a stuffed rabbit that had once belonged to Maya. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her breathe. "I'm going to earn this," he whispered. "I'm going to earn your trust back, no matter how long it takes." Zoe shifted in her sleep and murmured something. Marcus leaned closer to hear. "I love you, Daddy." His heart cracked open all over again. "I love you too, baby girl," he whispered back. "More than you'll ever know." Outside the window, the first light of dawn was creeping over the Atlanta skyline. A new day was beginning, a new chapter, a new chance. Marcus didn't know what the future would hold. He didn't know how long the healing would take or how many mistakes he would make along the way. But he knew one thing for certain. He was never going to miss another phone call from his daughter, no matter what. The first week without Vanessa was the hardest thing Marcus had ever done. He woke up at 5 a.m. on Monday morning to the sound of Eli crying. The toddler had wet his bed and was standing in the hallway sobbing, his pajamas soaked through. Marcus stumbled out of bed, still half asleep, and nearly tripped over a toy truck left on the floor. "Daddy wet," Eli wailed. "Daddy, I wet." "It's okay, buddy." Marcus picked him up, ignoring the dampness soaking into his own shirt. "Let's get you cleaned up." He carried Eli to the bathroom and started running warm water in the tub, but he couldn't find the baby soap. He opened cabinet after cabinet, growing more frustrated by the second. "Where does Vanessa keep the—" He stopped himself. Vanessa was gone. He couldn't ask Vanessa anything anymore. Zoe appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "It's in the cabinet under the sink, the blue bottle." Marcus found it exactly where she said. "Thank you, sweetheart." "Did we wake you?" "It's okay." Zoe walked over and tested the water temperature with her elbow. "A little warmer, Daddy. He doesn't like it cold." Marcus adjusted the faucet, watching his daughter check it again and nod approvingly. "How do you know all this?" "As I've been doing it for a while," Zoe said simply. The words hit Marcus like a punch. Of course she had been doing it. For 2 years, his 8-year-old daughter had been the one bathing her brother, feeding him, changing him, putting him to bed, while he worked, while Vanessa got her nails done, while the whole world spun on without anyone noticing that a child was raising a child. "Well," Marcus said, forcing a smile, "now you can teach me, and then you can go back to being a kid." Zoe looked at him with those 2 old eyes. What does that mean? Being a kid, Marcus didn't have an answer. By Wednesday, the house was in chaos. Laundry had piled up in the hallway. Marcus had attempted to wash clothes, but somehow turned all of Eli's white onesies pink. The kitchen was a disaster zone of failed cooking experiments. Dishes filled the sink because Marcus couldn't figure out how to run the dishwasher without flooding the floor. Zoe tried to help, but Marcus kept stopping her. "No, sweetheart, I've got this. You go play, but you're doing it wrong." Zoe said, watching him struggle with the vacuum cleaner. "You have to empty the bag first. It's full. I know. I was just about to do that. And you're using the wrong attachment. That one is for curtains. You need the floor one." Marcus looked at the vacuum, then at his daughter, then back at the vacuum. "Maybe you could just show me. One time. And then I'll know for next time." Zoe sighed the sigh of someone who had been through this before. She took the vacuum from him, swapped the attachments, emptied the bag, and had the living room clean in 5 minutes. Marcus watched her work with a mixture of pride and heartbreak. "You're really good at that." "I know. Has anyone ever told you that you don't have to be good at this stuff? That it's not your job?" Zoe stopped vacuuming. She looked at him for a long moment. "Vanessa said if I wasn't useful, I wasn't worth keeping around." Marcus knelt down to her level. "Vanessa was wrong. About everything. You don't have to earn your place in this family. You don't have to cook or clean or take care of anyone. You're my daughter. That's all you need to be. But what if I mess up? Then you mess up, and we figure it out together. What if I'm not good at anything? Then we find what you're good at. Together. What if you get tired of me?" The question broke something in Marcus's chest. He pulled Zoe into a hug, holding her tight. "I will never get tired of you. Never. Not in a million years. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, you and Eli, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you that every single day." Zoe's arms wrapped around his neck. She held on like she was afraid he might disappear. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything." They stayed like that until Eli wandered in, saw them hugging, and demanded to be included. Me too, Eli shouted, throwing himself at them. Marcus laughed and pulled his son into the embrace. "Yes, you too, little man. Always you too." On Friday, Marcus's assistant Denise came to the house with a stack of documents that needed his signature. "The board is getting restless," Denise said, watching Marcus struggle to make grilled cheese sandwiches. "They want to know when you're coming back." "I don't know," Marcus said honestly. "Soon. Maybe. I'm still figuring things out here." Denise looked around the chaotic kitchen. "I can see that. Do you want me to hire someone? A nanny? A housekeeper?" "Both." Marcus flipped the sandwich and somehow managed to launch it onto the floor. Eli burst into giggles. Zoe quietly started making a replacement. "Maybe." Marcus admitted picking up the ruined sandwich. But not yet. I need to learn how to do this myself first. Why? Because my daughter has been doing it for 2 years, and I had no idea. If I just hire someone else to do it, I'll never really understand what she went through. Denise was quiet for a moment. You're a good father, Marcus. No. Marcus shook his head. I'm a father who's trying to become good. There's a difference. After Denise left, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with his children. Zoe had salvaged lunch, producing 2 perfectly golden grilled cheese sandwiches and a bowl of tomato soup. This is really good, Marcus said, genuinely surprised. Where did you learn to cook like this, YouTube? Zoe said. And trial and error. I burned a lot of stuff at first. How old were you when you started cooking 6? When Vanessa said she wasn't going to make meals for us anymore. Marcus set down his sandwich. He had lost his appetite. 6. You were cooking at 6 years old, just simple stuff. Eggs, sandwiches, pasta. I got better as I got older, and Vanessa never helped you. She said cooking was servant's work. She said if I wanted to eat, I could figure it out myself. Marcus felt rage building in his chest again. The same rage he had felt watching those security videos. The same rage he had felt hearing Vanessa's cruel words on the phone. But he pushed it down. Anger wouldn't help Zoe. Only love would. Well, Marcus said carefully, from now on we're going to cook together. And it's not servant's work. It's something families do. Together. Zoe looked skeptical. You really want to learn. I really want to learn. Even though you're bad at it. Marcus laughed. Especially because I'm bad at it. Everyone starts somewhere. Right? Zoe smiled. A real smile. The first one Marcus had seen since she came home from the hospital. Right. The second week brought new challenges. Zoe had nightmares. Almost every night she would wake up screaming, convinced that Vanessa was coming back. Marcus would run to her room and hold her until she stopped shaking. It felt so real. Zoe would whisper, "She was standing over my bed. She said she was going to take me away." "She's gone," Marcus would say. "She can never hurt you again, but what if she comes back?" "She won't. I have a restraining order. If she comes anywhere near this house, she'll go to jail. Promise, I promise." But the nightmares didn't stop, and Marcus began to realize that legal documents couldn't heal psychological wounds. He called Dr. Williams, the child psychologist from the hospital, and scheduled weekly sessions for Zoe. He also scheduled sessions for himself with a therapist James had recommended. The first session was brutal. "Tell me about your relationship with your daughter," the therapist, a calm man named Dr. Peterson, asked. Marcus stared at the floor. "I don't really have one. Not a real one. I've been working so much that I barely know her." "What do you know about her?" "She's 8. She likes the color purple. She's good at cooking and cleaning and taking care of her brother. She's the strongest person I've ever met." "What else?" Marcus was quiet. "I don't know. I don't know her favorite book or her favorite movie or who her best friend is. I don't know what she wants to be when she grows up. I don't know what makes her laugh or what makes her cry. I've been so focused on providing for her that I forgot to actually know her." Dr. Peterson nodded. "That's honest, and honest is a good place to start. How do I fix it? You can't fix it overnight. Relationships take time. Trust takes time. But you can start by being present. Really present. Not just physically in the room, but mentally and emotionally engaged. How do I do that when I have a company to run? That's something you'll have to figure out. But I'll tell you this, your daughter doesn't need your money. She needs you. If you can't give her both, you have to decide which one matters more." Marcus knew the answer. He just didn't know how to make it work. On the 3rd week, something unexpected happened. Zoe's school called. "Mr. Thompson, this is Principal Henderson. I need to speak with you about Zoe." Marcus's heart dropped. "What happened? Is she okay?" "She's fine. Physically. But there was an incident today." Marcus drove to the school immediately. When he arrived, Zoe was sitting outside the principal's office, her arms crossed, her expression defiant. "What happened?" Marcus asked, kneeling beside her. Zoe wouldn't meet his eyes. "I got in trouble. For what? I hit someone." Marcus stared at her. "You hit someone. Why?" "She said something about me." "What did she say?" Zoe's jaw tightened. "She said my mom was stupid for dying and leaving me with a wicked stepmother. She said I deserved everything that happened to me." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "Who said that?" "A girl in my class." "Brittany. Her mom works at the spa Vanessa goes to. She heard things." "What things?" Zoe finally looked up. Her eyes were blazing. "She said Vanessa told everyone that I was a problem child, that I made up stories for attention, that I lied about being abused because I was jealous of her." Marcus's rage exploded. He stood up so fast he nearly knocked over a chair. Where is the principal, Daddy? Don't... Where is the principal? Principal Henderson emerged from her office at that moment, a tall woman with stern eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming so quickly. Please step into my office. Marcus followed her, but not before squeezing Zoe's shoulder. This isn't your fault. In the principal's office, Marcus listened as Henderson explained what had happened. Brittany had taunted Zoe on the playground. Zoe had tried to walk away. Brittany had followed, escalating her insults. Finally, Zoe had turned around and punched her. I understand that Zoe was provoked, Henderson said carefully, but we have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. She'll need to serve a 1-day suspension. A suspension? And Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. A girl bullied my daughter about her dead mother, and her abusive stepmother, and Zoe is the one being punished. Zoe threw the punch, Henderson replied. Brittany's words were cruel, but they weren't physical. Cruel Marcus leaned forward. Those words were calculated to cause maximum pain to a child who just escaped years of abuse. And you're suspending my daughter for defending herself. Mr. Thompson, I understand your frustration, but rules are rules, then your rules are wrong. Marcus stood up. My daughter has been through more trauma in 8 years than most people experience in a lifetime. She called for help when no one was listening. She protected her brother when no one else would. And the first time she stands up for herself, you punish her. Henderson's expression softened slightly. I'm not unsympathetic, Mr. Thompson, but what would you have me do? Talk to Brittany's mother. Make it clear that spreading gossip about an abuse victim is unacceptable. Protect my daughter instead of punishing her. Henderson was quiet for a long moment. I'll speak with Mrs. Patterson, and I'll reduce Zoe's suspension to a warning. But please, Mr. Thompson, talk to your daughter. Help her find better ways to handle her anger. Marcus nodded. I will. He walked out of the office and found Zoe still sitting in the same spot, her head bowed. Am I in trouble? She asked quietly. No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble. But I hit her. You did. Marcus sat down beside her. And we're going to talk about that. But I want you to know something first. What that girl said to you was wrong. It was cruel and unfair and untrue. And you had every right to be angry. But I shouldn't have hit her. Probably not. There are better ways to handle anger. We'll work on that together. But Zoe, I'm proud of you. Zoe looked up confused. Proud? You stood up for yourself. You stood up for your mother. You refused to let someone else define your story. That took courage. Tears welled in Zoe's eyes. I miss Mommy. I miss her so much. I know, baby. Marcus pulled her into a hug. I miss her too. They sat there for a long time, holding each other while students and teachers walked past. Finally, Zoe pulled back and wiped her eyes. Daddy? Yes, can we go get ice cream? Marcus smiled. Absolutely. That weekend, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He called an emergency board meeting. His executives gathered in the conference room confused and concerned. Marcus Thompson didn't call emergency meetings unless something major was happening. Thank you all for coming, Marcus said, standing at the head of the table. I have an announcement to make. The room fell silent. Effective immediately, I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. I will remain as chairman of the board, but Daniel Chen will assume the role of acting CEO. Daniel, his COO and closest colleague, looked stunned. Marcus, what are you talking about? My children need me, Marcus said simply. For the past few years, I've been so focused on building this company that I forgot to build a relationship with them. That ends now. One of the investors frowned. This is a critical time for the company. The expansion plans can wait, Marcus interrupted. Or they can proceed under Daniel's leadership, but I will not be the CEO who sacrificed his children on the altar of corporate success. Not anymore. For how long? Another board member asked. As long as it takes. Marcus looked around the room. My daughter called me 3 weeks ago and said 3 words, my back hurts. Those 3 words saved her life. They might have saved mine too, because they forced me to see what I had been too blind to see. That success means nothing if you lose your family in the process. The room was silent. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. A few nodded in understanding. Daniel stood up. I'll take care of things here, Marcus. Go take care of your kids. Marcus shook his hand. Thank you. He walked out of the building and didn't look back. When Marcus got home, Zoe and Eli were playing in the backyard. The babysitter he had hired for the day, a kind college student named Angela, was watching them from the porch. Daddy Eli shouted, running toward him. Daddy home early. Marcus scooped him up and spun him around. I sure am, little man, and I'm going to be home early from now on. Zoe approached more cautiously. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not going to be working so much anymore. I'm going to be here. With you. Really, really. Marcus set Eli down and knelt to Zoe's level. I made a choice today. I chose you, and I'm going to keep choosing you every single day for the rest of my life. Zoe stared at him. But what about your company? It'll survive without me. You won't. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. She threw herself into his arms. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. More than any job, more than any amount of money, more than anything in this world. They stood there in the backyard, the three of them, as the afternoon sun began to set. It wasn't perfect. Marcus still had a lot to learn. Zoe still had a lot to heal, and the road ahead would be long and difficult. But for the first time in years, they were walking it together, and that made all the difference. The next morning, Marcus woke up before dawn. Not because of a meeting or a conference call, but because he heard something unusual. Laughter. He followed the sound to the kitchen where he found Zoe attempting to teach Eli how to crack an egg. The toddler was covered in yolk, the counter was a disaster, and both children were laughing hysterically. What's going on here? Marcus asked, pretending to be stern. We're making breakfast, Eli announced proudly, holding up a dripping eggshell. I did it. You sure did, buddy. Marcus looked at the mess and smiled. Want some help? You want to help? Zoe sounded surprised. In the kitchen, I told you, I'm learning. Marcus rolled up his sleeves and joined his children at the counter. Zoe showed him how to separate the eggshells from the bowl. Eli insisted on helping with everything, which mostly meant making bigger messes. And somehow together they managed to produce something that vaguely resembled scrambled eggs. This is the best breakfast I've ever had, Marcus said, taking a bite. It's burnt, Zoe pointed out. I know, but we made it together. That makes it perfect. Zoe smiled. That same real smile that Marcus had started to see more often. The smile that told him healing was possible. Daddy, yes, sweetheart, I'm glad you came home. Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. So am I, baby girl, so am I. 3 months had passed since Vanessa left, and Marcus was beginning to believe that the worst was behind them. He was wrong. The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Marcus was in the kitchen attempting to bake cookies with Eli when his lawyer, Patricia's name, flashed on the screen. Marcus, we have a problem. Patricia's voice was tight. Vanessa is contesting the divorce. Marcus stepped away from the counter, lowering his voice. Contesting? On what grounds? She's claiming you coerced her into leaving. She's saying the abuse allegations are fabricated, and she's demanding full custody of both children. Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. Full custody. She abused my daughter for 2 years. I have video evidence. She has a lawyer now. A good one. Gregory Blackwell. Marcus knew that name. Blackwell was famous for winning unwinnable cases. He had gotten celebrity clients off murder charges. He had destroyed opposing counsel in courtroom battles that became legendary. How is she affording Blackwell? Patricia paused. That's the other thing. She's claiming you hid assets during the marriage. She's demanding a full forensic audit of your finances. And she's telling anyone who will listen that you're an abusive, controlling husband who drove her to desperation. That's insane. It doesn't matter if it's insane. It matters if people believe it. And Blackwell is very good at making people believe things. Marcus gripped the phone so hard his knuckles turned white. What do? We fight. But Marcus, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Vanessa isn't just trying to win the divorce. She's trying to destroy you. And she's going to use every weapon she has, including the children, especially the children. Marcus hung up the phone and stood motionless for a long moment. Eli tugged at his pant leg. Daddy, cookie time. Marcus looked down at his son's innocent face and felt his heart break all over again. In a minute, buddy. Daddy needs to make another call first. That evening after the children were asleep, Marcus called James. She's coming for them, Marcus said, his voice hollow. After everything she did, she's coming for my kids. James was quiet for a moment. How are you holding up? I'm terrified. I'm furious. I don't even know what I am. How is this possible, James? How can someone who hurt a child this badly be allowed to fight for custody? The legal system isn't designed to protect children. It's designed to protect parental rights. Vanessa has as much right to petition for custody as you do. The court will decide based on what they believe is in the children's best interest. The children's best interest? Marcus laughed bitterly. Their best interest is to never see her again. Then you need to prove that, and you need to prepare Zoe for what's coming. What do you mean? If this goes to trial, Zoe will probably have to testify. She'll have to tell a judge in detail what Vanessa did to her. That's going to be traumatic. She needs to be ready. She's 8 years old. How do I prepare an 8-year-old for that? You don't. But Dr. Williams can help. And Marcus, you need to be ready too. Blackwell's going to come after you. He's going to dig up every mistake you've ever made, every late night at work, every missed birthday, every moment you weren't there for your children. He's going to paint you as the real villain in this story. But I wasn't the one who hurt them. That doesn't matter. In a custody battle, perception is everything. And right now, Vanessa is positioning herself as the victim. Marcus stared at the wall. This isn't fair. No, it's not. But fair doesn't win court cases. Evidence does. Preparation does. And the ability to stay calm when everything inside you is screaming to explode. I don't know if I can do this. You don't have a choice. Your children are depending on you. 2 weeks later, the first deposition took place. Marcus sat across from Gregory Blackwell in a conference room that felt more like an interrogation chamber. Patricia sat beside him, her expression calm but alert. Blackwell was smaller than Marcus expected, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a smile that never reached his eyes. "Mr. Thompson," Blackwell began pleasantly, "thank you for meeting with us today. I just have a few questions about your marriage." "Ask whatever you want," Marcus said evenly. "I have nothing to hide." Blackwell's smile widened. "That's what they all say." For the next 3 hours, Blackwell dismantled Marcus's life piece by piece. He produced records showing how many hours Marcus worked each week. He read emails where Marcus had canceled family dinners for business meetings. He showed text messages where Marcus had told Vanessa to handle something because he was too busy. "So you admit," Blackwell said slowly, "that you were essentially an absentee father for most of your daughter's life. I was working to provide for my family, but you weren't present. You weren't there for bedtimes or homework or school plays. You delegated all parenting responsibilities to your wife. I trusted my wife." Marcus felt his anger rising. "I didn't know she was abusing my daughter." "Allegedly abusing," Blackwell corrected. "We only have your word for that. We have video evidence. Video evidence that you collected after accusing my client of wrongdoing. How do we know those videos weren't edited? How do we know they weren't taken out of context? Out of context." Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. "She called my daughter useless. She grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises. She left an 8-year-old alone with a toddler for 7 hours. My client was overwhelmed." Blackwell's voice dripped with false sympathy. "She was trying to manage a household with no support from her husband. She was dealing with 2 difficult children while you were building your empire. Is it any wonder she occasionally lost her temper?" Patricia intervened. "Are you seriously suggesting that child abuse is justified if the abuser feels overwhelmed? I'm suggesting that context matters." Blackwell turned back to Marcus. "Tell me about Maya Thompson, your first wife." Marcus froze. "What about her?" "She died of cancer 3 years ago, correct?" "Yes." "And you remarried Vanessa less than a year later. What's your point?" "My point is that you replaced your children's mother very quickly, some might say too quickly. Were you perhaps looking for a caretaker more than a partner? Someone to handle the messy business of raising children while you focused on what really mattered to you?" "That's not true." "Isn't it?" Blackwell leaned forward. "You have a pattern, Mr. Thompson. You work obsessively. You avoid emotional intimacy. You delegate responsibility to others and then blame them when things go wrong. My client isn't the villain here. She's a victim of your neglect just like your children are." Marcus stood up so fast his chair flew backward. "Don't you dare compare my children to that woman." Patricia grabbed his arm. "Marcus, sit down." The deposition continued for another hour. By the end, Marcus felt like he had been beaten. In the parking lot afterward, Patricia turned to him. That was exactly what Blackwell wanted. She said quietly, "He wanted you to lose control. He wanted to prove that you're volatile, that you're dangerous. I'm not dangerous, I know that, but the judge doesn't. And right now, all the judge has seen is a man who jumped out of his chair during a routine deposition. He was attacking my character. He was twisting everything. That's his job, and he's very good at it. Marcus, I need you to understand something. This battle is going to get worse before it gets better. Vanessa is going to say terrible things about you. Blackwell is going to make you look like a monster, and you cannot react. No matter how angry you are, no matter how unfair it is, you have to stay calm. How? Think about Zoe. Think about Eli. Every time you want to explode, think about them. They're the reason you're doing this. Don't let Blackwell make you forget that." That night, Marcus sat in Zoe's room while she slept. He watched her breathe in and out, so peaceful, so unaware of the storm brewing around her. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You can't protect them forever? Vanessa's going to get what she deserves. And so are you." Marcus stared at the message. His hands began to shake. Someone was watching. Someone knew what was happening, and someone wanted him scared. The harassment started small. First it was phone calls, silent calls in the middle of the night. Marcus would answer and hear nothing but breathing on the other end. Then it was the car. Someone slashed his tires while he was grocery shopping with the children. The security footage showed a figure in a hoodie face obscured working quickly and methodically. Then it was the mail. Anonymous letters arrived daily. Some were threatening, some were mocking. One contained photographs of the children at school taken from a distance with a simple message scrawled on the back. They look so happy. For now. Marcus installed new security cameras. He hired a bodyguard to escort Zoe and Eli to school. He filed a police report, but the detective assigned to the case was skeptical. "These things usually turn out to be nothing," the detective said. "Probably just someone trying to scare you. It's working," Marcus replied, "and I need to know who's behind it." The detective promised to investigate, but Marcus knew he was on his own. The break came unexpectedly. Marcus was reviewing his company's financial records when he noticed something strange. Large withdrawals had been made from an account he didn't recognize, an account that had been set up 3 years ago shortly after he married Vanessa. He dug deeper. The account was connected to a shell company registered in Delaware. The shell company had made payments to various individuals and organizations, including a private investigation firm based in Atlanta. Marcus called Patricia immediately. "Vanessa was spying on me." His voice was shaking. "For 3 years. She set up a secret account and used it to hire investigators. She's been collecting information this whole time." "What kind of information?" "Everything. My schedule, my contacts, Marcus stopped cold. "My security system passwords. She has access to my home security cameras." "That's how she knew," Patricia said slowly. "That's how she knew exactly what to say to counter your evidence. She's been watching the footage too. Can we prove it if the money trail leads back to her?" "Yes." "Marcus, this could change everything. If we can show that Vanessa was conducting surveillance on you and the children, it destroys her credibility. It proves premeditation. It shows the court exactly who she really is. How long will it take?" "A few weeks, maybe a month." "We need forensic accountants to trace the money. We need subpoenas for the investigation firm's records. It's not going to be quick. We don't have a month. The custody hearing is in 3 weeks. Then we need to find another way." Marcus hung up and sat in silence. 3 weeks. He had 3 weeks to expose Vanessa's true nature before she convinced a judge to give her his children. The idea came to him at 2 a.m. He couldn't sleep. He was pacing the living room, trying to think of solutions when he remembered something Zoe had said months ago. "She keeps a diary," Zoe had mentioned, "in her nightstand. She writes in it every night." Marcus had dismissed it at the time. What did Vanessa's diary matter when he had video evidence? But video evidence could be questioned. Video evidence could be called into doubt. A handwritten diary in Vanessa's own words detailing her thoughts and actions that would be much harder to dismiss. The problem was getting it. Vanessa had moved into a downtown apartment after the separation. The diary, if it still existed, would be there, and Marcus couldn't exactly break in and steal it, but he knew someone who could help. He called Patricia the next morning. "I need you to file for discovery," Marcus said. "I want access to any documents, journals, or personal writings that might be relevant to the custody case. Blackwell will fight it." "Let him? If Vanessa has nothing to hide, she shouldn't have any problem turning over her diary. You think she'll actually do it? No. But I think her resistance will tell the court something, and if we're lucky, maybe she'll make a mistake." The discovery request was filed 2 days later. As expected, Blackwell objected violently. "This is a fishing expedition," Blackwell argued before the judge. "Mr. Thompson is trying to invade my client's privacy. Personal diaries are protected under attorney-client privilege." "A diary isn't communication with an attorney," Patricia countered. "It's a personal record that could contain evidence relevant to these proceedings. If Mrs. Thompson has nothing to hide, she should have no objection." The judge considered for a moment. "I'm going to allow limited discovery. Mrs. Thompson will produce any diaries or journals from the past 3 years. However, any entries unrelated to the children or the marriage will be redacted." Vanessa's face went pale. Marcus saw it. Blackwell saw it. And most importantly, the judge saw it. Something was in that diary. Something Vanessa desperately didn't want anyone to see. 2 days before the diary was scheduled to be produced, Marcus received a visitor. Angela, the college student who occasionally babysat, arrived at the house looking nervous. "Mr. Thompson, I need to tell you something. I should have told you sooner, but I was scared." "What is it?" Angela took a deep breath. "Before she moved out, Mrs. Thompson asked me to do something. She asked me to report on you, to tell her what you were doing, who you were seeing, what the kids were saying about her." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "And did you—" "At first, yes." Angela's eyes filled with tears. "She paid me extra, and I didn't understand what was really happening. But then I started to see how much Zoe was hurting. I started to realize that Mrs. Thompson wasn't the victim she claimed to be, so I stopped. I stopped reporting to her 3 weeks ago. Does she know you stopped?" "I don't think so. I've been giving her fake information, making things up to keep her off my back." Marcus stared at Angela. This young woman, barely 20 years old, had been caught in the middle of something she didn't understand, and somehow, despite the pressure, she had found the courage to do the right thing. "Why are you telling me this now? Because she called me yesterday." Angela's voice trembled. "She said she was going to get custody of the kids. She said when that happened, she was going to make sure Zoe paid for what she said. She said she had plans for that girl, and Mr. Thompson, the way she said it scared me." "What exactly did she say?" Angela looked him in the eye. "She said some children need to learn that speaking up has consequences, and she said she was going to teach Zoe that lesson personally." Marcus's hands balled into fists. "Thank you for telling me. You may have just saved my daughter's life." Angela nodded, still crying. "I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. You're saying something now. That's what matters." After Angela left, Marcus called Patricia and told her everything. "This is huge," Patricia said. "Angela can testify about the surveillance. She can testify about Vanessa's threats. This combined with the financial records and the diary, we might actually win this. Might, Marcus, there are no guarantees in family court. Judges are unpredictable. Juries are emotional. And Blackwell is very, very good at creating reasonable doubt. So what do? We prepare. We gather every piece of evidence we can find, and we pray that justice actually means something in that courtroom." The night before the diary was produced, Marcus got another anonymous message. This one wasn't a text. It was a package left on his doorstep. Inside was a photograph of Zoe's mother, Maya. It had been taken from their family album, which meant someone had been inside the house. On the back of the photograph, someone had written 3 words. "She died screaming." Marcus called the police. He called his security company. He called everyone he could think of. But deep down, he knew the truth. Vanessa wasn't just fighting for custody. She was waging psychological warfare. She was trying to break him before the case ever reached court, and she was willing to desecrate the memory of his dead wife to do it. That night, Marcus sat with Zoe in her room. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Zoe asked, seeing the strain on his face. "Nothing, sweetheart. I just wanted to spend some time with you." Zoe studied him with those old, wise eyes. "You're scared of something." Marcus wanted to lie. He wanted to protect her from the truth. But Zoe had been lied to enough. "Yes," he admitted. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of losing you. Of not being able to protect you. Of failing you again." Zoe took his hand. "You're not going to fail me, Daddy." "How do you know?" "Because you came home. When I called you that day and said my back hurt, you came home. That's all that matters." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. "When did you get so wise?" Zoe shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe when everything else fell apart." They sat together in silence, father and daughter, as the clock ticked toward midnight. Tomorrow the diary would be produced. Tomorrow the truth would begin to emerge. Tomorrow everything would change. Marcus didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if justice would prevail or if Vanessa would somehow slither her way back into their lives. But he knew one thing for certain. He would fight for his children with every breath in his body. He would protect them no matter the cost, and he would never ever let anyone hurt them again. The storm was coming, and Marcus Thompson was ready to face it. The diary arrived at Patricia's office at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Marcus was there waiting when the courier delivered it. His hands trembled as Patricia opened the sealed envelope and pulled out a leather-bound journal with gold lettering on the cover. "This is it," Patricia said quietly. "Whatever secrets Vanessa has been hiding, they're in here." She opened to the first page and began reading aloud. January 15th. Marcus worked late again. "The children are driving me insane. Zoe keeps asking when her father is coming home. I told her to stop whining and make herself useful. If she wants attention so badly, she can earn it." Patricia turned the page. February 3rd. "I've decided to let the housekeeper go. She was getting too attached to the children. Besides, Zoe is old enough to handle basic chores. It's time she learned that nothing in this world is free." Marcus felt his stomach turn. "Keep reading." March 20th. "Zoe burned dinner again. I made her clean the entire kitchen on her hands and knees. She cried the whole time. Good. Maybe next time she'll pay attention to what she's doing. These children need discipline, not coddling. The entries continued, each one more damning than the last. Vanessa had documented everything: her resentment of the children, her deliberate cruelty, her calculated manipulation of Marcus's absence to gain control of the household. But the most devastating entry came from 6 months ago. September 8th. I've been thinking about what happens if Marcus ever finds out. He won't believe Zoe over me. He barely looks at her. But just in case, I've started building my insurance policy. The private investigators have been very helpful. I know about Marcus's business dealings, his late nights, his secret anxieties. If he ever tries to leave me, I'll destroy him. And I'll make sure those children end up exactly where they belong. In foster care, far away from their precious daddy. Patricia set the diary down. Marcus, this is a confession, in her own handwriting. She admits to planning this. All of it. Will it be enough? Combined with the financial records, Angela's testimony, and the video evidence, it should be. But Marcus, there's something else you need to see. Patricia flipped to the final entries. October 2nd. Marcus filed for divorce. That idiot thinks he can just throw me away. After everything I've done for him, I gave him the best years of my life. I tolerated those miserable children. I made him look respectable, and this is how he repays me. Fine. If he wants a war, I'll give him one. By the time I'm finished, he won't have a company, a reputation, or a family. I'll take everything, and then I'll watch him burn. Marcus closed his eyes. She was never going to stop. No, Patricia said grimly. She wasn't. But now, we have proof. And proof changes everything. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following Monday. Marcus spent the weekend preparing Zoe for what was coming. Dr. Williams had worked with her extensively, helping her understand that she might need to answer questions about Vanessa. You don't have to be scared. Marcus told her the night before the hearing. I'm going to be right there with you, and no matter what happens, I'm never going to let anyone hurt you again. Zoe nodded, but her eyes were distant. Daddy, what if the judge doesn't believe me? The judge will believe you. We have so much evidence, but what if Vanessa lies? She's really good at lying. She made everyone think she was nice for years. Marcus knelt down to her level. That's true. Vanessa is very good at pretending, but lies always fall apart eventually. The truth is stronger. And you, Zoe Thompson, are the bravest person I know. Whatever happens in that courtroom, I need you to remember that. Zoe hugged him tightly. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. The courtroom was packed. Marcus sat at the plaintiff's table with Patricia. Across the aisle, Vanessa sat with Gregory Blackwell, looking perfectly composed in a modest dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. The judge, an older woman named Patricia Hawkins, entered and called the proceedings to order. We are here today to determine custody of Zoe Thompson, age 8, and Elijah Thompson, age 3. Counselors, are you ready to proceed? Yes, Your Honor. Patricia stood. The petitioner calls Angela Martinez to the stand. Angela walked to the witness box, visibly nervous but determined. She was sworn in and took her seat. Miss Martinez, Patricia began, can you describe your relationship with the Thompson family? I was their part-time babysitter, Angela said. I worked for them for about 8 months before Mrs. Thompson moved out. During that time, did Mrs. Thompson ever ask you to do anything unusual? Angela took a deep breath. Yes, she asked me to spy on Mr. Thompson, to report on his activities, his conversations with the children, and anything else I observed. Objection. Blackwell stood. This is hearsay and completely unsubstantiated. I have text messages, Angela said, pulling out her phone. Mrs. Thompson sent me specific instructions about what information she wanted. I can show them to the court. Judge Hawkins leaned forward. Let me see those messages. Angela handed over her phone. The judge scrolled through the texts, her expression growing increasingly troubled. These messages appear to be from Mrs. Thompson's phone number, she said finally. I'll allow the testimony to continue. Blackwell sat down, his face tight with controlled anger. Ms. Martinez. Patricia continued. Did Mrs. Thompson ever say anything about the children directly? Yes. Angela's voice trembled. She called me about a week ago. She said she was going to get custody, and when she did, she was going to make sure Zoe paid for speaking up against her. She said some children need to learn that there are consequences for telling lies. Did she say anything else? Angela looked directly at Vanessa. She said she had plans for that girl, and the way she said it scared me. That's why I came forward. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Hawkins called for order. Blackwell rose for cross-examination. Ms. Martinez, isn't it true that Mr. Thompson pays your salary? He did when I was babysitting, Angela said calmly. I'm not being paid for this testimony, but you're hoping for future employment, aren't you? Perhaps a permanent position in the Thompson household? No, sir. I'm here because I saw what Mrs. Thompson did to those children, and I couldn't stay silent anymore. Blackwell tried several more angles, but Angela held firm. When she finally stepped down, Marcus could see that her testimony had made an impact. Patricia's next witness was Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, Patricia said, you've been treating Zoe Thompson for the past several months. Can you describe her psychological condition when you first met her? Williams nodded gravely. Zoe presented with symptoms consistent with prolonged childhood trauma, anxiety, hypervigilance, difficulty sleeping, and a compulsive need to take care of others at the expense of her own well-being. She had essentially been parentified, forced to assume adult responsibilities far beyond her developmental capacity. In your professional opinion, what caused this trauma? Based on my sessions with Zoe, her descriptions of her home life, and corroborating evidence, I believe she was subjected to emotional abuse by her stepmother over a period of at least 2 years. The abuse included verbal degradation, excessive work demands, social isolation, and explicit threats of abandonment. Objection. Blackwell stood again. Dr. Williams is not qualified to determine the cause of trauma. She only has the child's word for what happened. Your Honor, Patricia interjected. We also have video evidence that corroborates Zoe's account. Judge Hawkins nodded. I'll allow the testimony, but I'd like to see this video evidence. Patricia pulled out a tablet and pressed play. The courtroom watched in silence as the security footage played. Vanessa grabbing Zoe's arm. Vanessa screaming at her for minor mistakes. Vanessa leaving the children alone for hours. Vanessa calling Zoe useless, worthless, just like her mother. When the video ended, several people in the gallery were crying. Even Judge Hawkins looked shaken. Is there more? The judge asked quietly. Hours more, Your Honor, Patricia said. This is a representative sample. The full footage is available for review. Judge Hawkins turned to Vanessa. Mrs. Thompson, would you like to respond to this evidence? Vanessa's composure cracked for just a moment. Her eyes darted to Blackwell, who stood slowly. Your Honors, we contend that this footage has been edited and taken out of context. My client was overwhelmed and undersupported. Any disciplinary actions she took were well within normal parenting bounds. Normal parenting. Patricia's voice rose. Does normal parenting include calling a child useless? Does it include threatening to send her to boarding school if she tells her father the truth? Does it include leaving an 8-year-old alone with a toddler for 7 hours while you get a spa treatment? Objection sustained. Judge Hawkins said. Counselor, keep your emotions in check. I apologize, Your Honor, Patricia said, though she didn't look sorry at all. But I believe the evidence speaks for itself. The final piece of evidence was the diary. Patricia read selected entries aloud, her voice steady and deliberate. With each passage, Vanessa's facade crumbled a little more. By the time Patricia reached the final entry, the one where Vanessa promised to destroy Marcus and take everything, even Blackwell seemed to realize the case was lost. Mrs. Thompson, Judge Hawkins said after a long silence. Is this your handwriting? Vanessa hesitated. I want to speak with my attorney. Answer the question, please. Is this your handwriting? Vanessa's jaw tightened. Yes. And did you write these words? Did you describe your treatment of your stepdaughter? Did you document your plans to, and I quote, make sure those children end up in foster care far away from their precious daddy? The courtroom was absolutely silent. Vanessa's mask finally shattered. Those children were impossible, she exploded. Do you have any idea what it's like to raise someone else's kids, to compete with a dead woman for your husband's attention, to be treated like a servant in your own home while your husband works 80-hour weeks and barely looks at you? So you took your frustration out on an 8-year-old girl. She was always watching me. Vanessa's voice rose to a shriek, those eyes judging me, comparing me to her sainted mother. She never accepted me. Neither of them did. I gave Marcus the best years of my life, and what did I get? A divorce and a restraining order. You got exactly what you deserved. Marcus said quietly. Vanessa whirled toward him. Don't you dare judge me. You were never there. You left me alone with those children day after day while you played businessman. This is your fault, Mrs. Thompson, Judge Hawkins interrupted sharply. That's enough. Please sit down. But Sit. Down? Vanessa sat breathing heavily, her carefully constructed image in ruins. Judge Hawkins shuffled her papers. I've heard enough. I'm going to take a brief recess to review the evidence. Court will reconvene in 1 hour. The hour felt like an eternity. Marcus sat in the hallway, staring at the floor. Patricia sat beside him, reviewing her notes. What do you think Marcus asked? I think we won, Patricia said, but I've been wrong before. What if we didn't? What if she somehow convinces the judge, then we appeal? We keep fighting. We never stop. Marcus nodded, but his heart was pounding. Everything depended on the next few minutes. The bailiff called them back into the courtroom. Judge Hawkins took her seat and looked out at the assembled parties. In the matter of Thompson versus Thompson, she began, I have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. I have considered testimony from witnesses, expert opinions, and non-documentary evidence, including video footage and personal journals. She paused, her expression grave. The evidence overwhelmingly supports the petitioner's claims. The respondent, Vanessa Thompson, subjected her stepdaughter to a pattern of emotional abuse, neglect, and manipulation over a period of at least 2 years. She deliberately isolated the child, threatened her with abandonment, and parentified her by forcing her to assume caretaking responsibilities far beyond her developmental capacity. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. Furthermore, the judge continued, the respondent engaged in surveillance of the petitioner and his household and made explicit threats against the child's well-being in communications with third parties. These actions demonstrate a clear and present danger to the children's safety and welfare. Judge Hawkins looked directly at Vanessa. Mrs. Thompson, your behavior in this courtroom today has only confirmed my concerns. Your lack of remorse, your attempts to blame your husband, and even the children themselves for your actions tells me everything I need to know about your fitness as a parent. She turned back to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, I am granting you full legal and physical custody of both Zoe Thompson and Elijah Thompson. The existing restraining order against Mrs. Thompson will be extended indefinitely. She is prohibited from contacting the children directly or through intermediaries. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. It was over. It was finally over. Additionally, the judge continued, I am recommending that the district attorney's office review this case for potential criminal charges. The evidence suggests that Mrs. Thompson's treatment of her stepdaughter may rise to the level of child abuse under Georgia law. Vanessa went pale. Criminal charges. That will be a matter for the prosecutor to decide. Judge Hawkins gathered her papers. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a sound like thunder. Marcus sat frozen for a long moment. Patricia squeezed his arm. We won, she said. Marcus, we won. He couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Then his phone buzzed. A text from Denise. The kids are asking when you're coming home. They said they want to make you a celebration cake. Marcus laughed, tears still streaming down his face. He stood up and walked toward the door, without looking back at Vanessa. He could hear her shouting at Blackwell, demanding an appeal, threatening lawsuits. But it didn't matter anymore. None of it mattered. His children were safe. That was all that counted. When Marcus walked through his front door, Zoe and Eli were waiting in the foyer. Daddy Eli shouted, running toward him. Cake, we made cake, you made cake, Zoe made it. Eli admitted. I helped lick the spoon. Marcus scooped him up and carried him toward the kitchen. Zoe followed, her expression cautious. What happened? She asked quietly. At the court, Marcus set Eli down and turned to face his daughter. We won, sweetheart. You're staying with me, both of you, forever. Zoe's face crumpled. Really, really? Marcus knelt down and pulled her into a hug. She's never coming back. The judge made sure of it. Zoe sobbed against his shoulder. I was so scared. I thought maybe the judge would believe her lies. I thought maybe I would have to go live with her again. Never. Marcus held her tighter. I would never let that happen. Do you understand me? I would burn the world down before I let anyone take you away from me. Daddy. Zoe pulled back, wiping her eyes. That's kind of dramatic. Marcus laughed. Maybe, but it's true. They ate cake that night. It was lopsided and the frosting was uneven and the candles were mismatched because they couldn't find a matching set. But it was the best cake Marcus had ever tasted. After dinner, he tucked both children into bed. Daddy, Zoe said as he was about to leave. Can I ask you something, anything? What happened to Vanessa? Where did she go? I don't know, Marcus admitted. And honestly, I don't care. She's out of our lives. That's all that matters. Do you think she'll ever change? Marcus considered the question carefully. Maybe. People can change if they really want to, but it's not our job to fix her. Our job is to take care of each other. Zoe nodded slowly. I'm glad you're my daddy. Marcus felt his heart swell. I'm glad you're my daughter. He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. As he walked down the hallway, he paused outside Eli's room. The toddler was already asleep, his thumb in his mouth, clutching his stuffed elephant. 2 children. His children. Safe and loved and finally free. Marcus stood there for a long time, just watching them breathe. The phone call came 3 days later. Marcus was making breakfast when Patricia's name appeared on his screen. Good news or bad news? Marcus asked. Good news, Patricia said. The DA's office has opened a formal investigation into Vanessa. They're particularly interested in the surveillance activities and the harassment campaign. There's a good chance she'll face criminal charges. What kind of charges? Stalking. Harassment. Possibly child abuse depending on how they interpret the evidence. She's looking at serious jail time, Marcus. Marcus leaned against the counter. I should feel satisfied, but I just feel tired. That's normal, Patricia said. You've been through hell. It takes time to process. What about the divorce finalized as of yesterday? You're officially a free man. And given the circumstances, the judge awarded you the house primary assets and full custody with no visitation rights for Vanessa. She got nothing. She got a criminal investigation in the contempt of everyone who knows her. Patricia paused. Marcus, I've been doing family law for 20 years. I've seen a lot of cases, but I've never seen anyone fight for their children the way you did. Those kids are lucky to have you. No, Marcus said quietly. I'm lucky to have them. That weekend, Marcus took the children to visit Maya's grave. It was the first time they had been there since the funeral 3 years ago. Zoe held a bouquet of purple flowers. Eli clutched his stuffed elephant. Hi, Mommy, Zoe said softly, kneeling beside the headstone. I miss you. A lot happened since you went away, but Daddy's taking care of us now, for real this time. Marcus watched his daughter talk to her mother's grave, telling her about school and her new therapist and the cake they made last week. Eli joined in babbling about his toy cars and the funny faces Daddy made when he burned the pancakes. When they were finished, Zoe stood up and took Marcus's hand. Do you think she heard us? Marcus looked at the headstone at Maya's name carved in stone at the dates that marked a life cut far too short. I think she hears everything, he said. And I think she's proud of you, of both of you. I hope so. Zoe squeezed his hand. Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for coming home. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. Thank you for calling me. They stood there together, the three of them, as clouds drifted overhead and birds sang in the trees. A family broken and rebuilt, standing on the ruins of what had been and looking toward what could be. The healing wasn't complete. Maybe it never would be. But for the first time in years, Marcus felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. And that was enough. For now, that was more than enough. 1 year had passed since the custody trial, and Marcus Thompson barely recognized his own life. He woke at 6 a.m. now, not for meetings, but to make breakfast. He had mastered scrambled eggs, pancakes, and what Eli called Daddy's special toast, which was just regular toast with peanut butter and banana slices arranged to look like a smiley face. Daddy Eli shouted from the hallway. Zoe won't let me use the purple crayon. Marcus sighed and walked toward the noise. What's going on here? Zoe sat at the dining table, surrounded by art supplies. I'm using it for my project. He can use any other color, but I want purple. Eli's lower lip trembled. Purple is my favorite. Since when is purple your favorite? Zoe asked skeptically. Yesterday you said your favorite was green? I changed my mind. Marcus knelt between them. Eli, buddy, how about you use the purple crayon when Zoe is finished? She's working on something important. What's she working on? It's a surprise, Zoe said quickly. For Daddy. So you can't look. Marcus raised an eyebrow. A surprise for me? You can't look, both children shouted in unison. Marcus laughed and raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I'll go make breakfast and pretend I didn't hear anything. As he walked back to the kitchen, he heard Eli whisper loudly, Do you think he'll like it? He's going to love it, Zoe whispered back. Now help me with the glitter. Marcus smiled to himself. A year ago, these children had been traumatized, isolated, and barely able to function. Now they were fighting over crayons and planning surprise art projects. It wasn't perfect. Zoe still had nightmares sometimes. Eli still asked about the mean lady occasionally, but they were healing. Slowly, imperfectly, beautifully healing. The phone rang just as Marcus was flipping the last pancake. Marcus Thompson. The voice was professional clipped. Speaking. This is Detective Morrison from the Atlanta Police Department. I'm calling to inform you that Vanessa Thompson was sentenced this morning. Marcus set down the spatula. What was the verdict? Guilty on all counts. Stalking, harassment, and child endangerment. She received 5 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 3. Marcus let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Thank you for letting me know. There's something else. Detective Morrison paused. During the trial, Mrs. Thompson attempted to make a statement about your family. She claimed she had evidence that would exonerate her. The judge didn't allow it. What kind of evidence? She claimed that your late wife, Maya Thompson, had a history of mental illness and that your daughter inherited it. She said Zoe's allegations were the result of delusional thinking, not actual abuse. Marcus gripped the phone so hard his knuckles turned white. That's a lie, we know. The prosecution presented medical records proving that neither Maya nor Zoe had any history of mental illness. Mrs. Thompson was caught fabricating documents. It actually strengthened the case against her. Good, Marcus said flatly. Is there anything else? Just one thing. Detective Morrison's voice softened slightly. I've been on this job for 20 years. I've seen a lot of cases. But I want you to know that what you did for your daughter was extraordinary. Most parents in your situation would have missed the signs completely. You saved her, Mr. Thompson. She saved herself, Marcus said quietly. I just finally started listening. After he hung up, Marcus stood motionless in the kitchen for a long moment. Vanessa was going to prison. The woman who had tormented his daughter, who had tried to destroy his family, who had desecrated his late wife's memory, was finally facing real consequences. He should have felt triumphant, vindicated, satisfied. Instead, he just felt sad. Sad for the years Zoe had lost. Sad for the damage that could never be fully undone. Sad for the person Vanessa could have been if she had made different choices. Daddy Zoe appeared in the doorway. Are you okay? Marcus turned to face her. Yes, sweetheart, I just got some news. Good news or bad news, good news. The lady who hurt you is going to prison for a long time. Zoe was quiet for a moment. Does that mean she can never come back? It means she'll be locked up for at least 3 years. And after that, the restraining order will still be in place. She can never contact you or come near you again. Zoe nodded slowly. I thought I would feel happy, but I just feel weird. That's normal, Marcus said gently. Complicated feelings are okay. You don't have to feel any particular way about this. Dr. Williams says that too. Zoe smiled slightly. You and Dr. Williams say a lot of the same things. That's because we both love you and want what's best for you. Zoe walked over and hugged him. I love you too, Daddy. Marcus held her tight. The pancakes burned on the stove behind them. Neither of them cared. 2 weeks later, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. He was in his home office reviewing documents for the foundation he had been planning when the doorbell rang. Denise's face appeared on the security camera. She looked nervous. Denise Marcus opened the door. I wasn't expecting you. Is everything okay? There's someone here to see you, Denise said carefully. She says she's Vanessa's mother. Marcus froze. What? She drove down from Savannah. She says she needs to speak with you about her daughter. Tell her to leave. She says it's about the children. Marcus's jaw tightened. He had never met Vanessa's mother. Vanessa had claimed her parents were dead, one of many lies she had told during their marriage. Fine, he said finally, but she's not coming inside. I'll meet her on the porch. The woman waiting outside was older than Marcus expected. Small and frail with gray hair and tired eyes. She looked nothing like Vanessa. Mr. Thompson, she said quietly. Thank you for seeing me. I almost didn't. What do you want? The woman took a shaky breath. My name is Dorothy. Vanessa is my daughter. I know what she did to your family, and I want you to know that I am so deeply sorry. Marcus crossed his arms. Sorry doesn't undo what happened. I know, Dorothy's voice cracked. I tried to warn you when you married her. I wrote you letters. Did you ever receive them? Marcus frowned. Letters? What letters? I sent 3 letters to your office address. I told you about Vanessa's history, about what she did before. What do you mean, what she did before? Dorothy looked down at her hands. Vanessa was married once before to a man in Savannah. He had 2 children from a previous marriage. Dorothy's voice broke. She did the same thing to them. The emotional abuse, the manipulation, the lies. When the father found out he tried to get custody, Vanessa destroyed him. She made false accusations. She turned his own family against him. He lost everything. His job, his house, his children. And then? Dorothy wiped her eyes. He took his own life. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. What? She drove that man to suicide. And then she walked away like nothing happened. Changed her name. Moved to Atlanta. Started over. I tried to stop her. I tried to warn you. But she intercepted my letters. She told me if I ever contacted you, she would make sure I never saw her again. Why are you telling me this now? Because I couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Dorothy looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. When I heard what happened to your daughter, I wanted to die. I knew what Vanessa was capable of. I knew, and I didn't do enough to stop her. That little girl suffered because I was too afraid to speak up. Marcus was silent for a long moment. The revelation hit him like a physical blow. Vanessa hadn't just been cruel. She had been a predator, a repeat offender who targeted vulnerable families and destroyed them from within. And he had invited her into his home. He had given her access to his children. He had trusted her completely. You should have tried harder, Marcus said finally. You should have called the police. You should have shown up at my door. You should have done something. I know, Dorothy whispered, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. Yes, you do. Marcus turned and walked back inside. He didn't look back, but Dorothy's words echoed in his mind for days afterward. Vanessa had done this before. She had destroyed another family. She had driven a man to suicide, and she had almost done the same thing to Marcus. That night, Marcus sat in his office and made a decision. He called James. "I want to start a foundation," Marcus said without preamble, "for children who have been abused by step-parents or caregivers. I want to create resources for families, warning signs to watch for, support systems for children who are suffering in silence." "That's a big undertaking," James said carefully. "Are you sure you're ready?" "I'm sure." Marcus's voice was firm. "What happened to Zoe shouldn't happen to any child, and if I can use my resources and my platform to prevent even one family from going through what we went through, then everything will have been worth it." "What are you going to call it?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Little Backs. Little Backs. Because that's what started everything. A little girl calling her father and saying, 'My back hurts.'" Marcus paused. Every child deserves someone to lean on, someone who will carry them when they can't carry themselves. That's what this foundation is about, making sure no child ever has to carry the weight alone. "I think Maya would be proud of you," James said quietly. "I hope so," Marcus replied. "I really hope so." The foundation launched 6 months later. Marcus stood at a podium in front of hundreds of people, his hands steady, his voice clear. 15 months ago, I received a phone call from my 8-year-old daughter. She said 3 words that changed my life forever. "Daddy, my back hurts." The room was silent. I almost didn't answer that call. I was in the middle of an important meeting. I had deals to close, shareholders to impress, numbers to crunch. But something made me pick up the phone. Something made me listen. And what I heard on the other end of that line shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. Marcus paused, gathering himself. My daughter had been carrying a burden that no child should ever have to carry. For 2 years, she had been abused by someone I trusted. For 2 years, she had suffered in silence because she was afraid that no one would believe her. For 2 years, she had taken care of her baby brother, run a household, and endured cruelty that would break most adults. And I had no idea, because I was too busy, too focused on my career, too convinced that success in business meant success in life. He looked out at the audience. I was wrong. Success means nothing if your children are suffering. Achievement means nothing if your family is falling apart. Money means nothing if the people you love feel invisible. Marcus stepped back from the podium. The Little Backs Foundation exists to make sure that no child ever feels invisible again. We provide resources for parents who suspect abuse. We offer counseling for children who have survived trauma. We train educators and healthcare workers to recognize the warning signs. And we advocate for legal reforms that protect the most vulnerable members of our society. He took a deep breath. My daughter's name is Zoe. She's 9 years old now. She loves the color purple, she's learning to play piano, and she wants to be a doctor when she grows up. She is the bravest person I have ever known, and she's the reason I'm standing here today. Marcus looked directly into the cameras. If there's a child out there who's suffering in silence, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Your pain matters, and someone will believe you, I promise. Someone will answer when you call. The room erupted in applause. But Marcus wasn't listening to the crowd. He was looking at the front row where Zoe sat between James and Denise. She was smiling, tears streaming down her face. I love you, Daddy, she mouthed. I love you too, he mouthed back. After the event, Marcus found Zoe waiting by the car. You did good, Daddy, she said. You think so? Yeah, but you got one thing wrong. What's that? I don't just want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor who helps kids like me, kids who have been hurt, kids who need someone to tell them they're going to be okay. Marcus felt his heart swell with pride. I think that's a wonderful goal. Dr. Williams says I have lived experience, Zoe said seriously. She says that makes me uniquely qualified to help others who have been through similar things. Dr. Williams is a smart woman. I know, that's why I listened to her. Zoe paused. Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. Do you think Mommy would be proud of me? Marcus knelt down to her level. I think Mommy is the proudest angel in heaven right now. I think she's watching you and crying happy tears and telling everyone she meets about her amazing daughter. Zoe smiled through her tears. I like that. Me too. They drove home together, Eli chattering excitedly about the cake he had been promised, Zoe staring out the window with a peaceful expression on her face. When they arrived, Marcus was surprised to see a figure sitting on the front steps. It was Angela, the former babysitter. Angela Marcus helped the children out of the car. I wasn't expecting you. I know. Angela stood up nervously. I just wanted to tell you something. I watched your speech online and I started crying. You did. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, about how I almost helped Vanessa, about how close I came to being part of something terrible. Angela's voice shook. I wanted you to know that I've decided to become a social worker. I want to help kids who are in the situation Zoe was in. I want to be part of the solution instead of almost being part of the problem. Marcus felt a wave of warmth wash over him. Angela, that's wonderful. Do you think I can do it? I mean, after everything, I think you can do anything you set your mind to. Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. The fact that you recognized you were on the wrong path and changed direction, that takes courage. Not everyone has that kind of strength. Angela wiped her eyes. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Zoe stepped forward. Angela. Yes, honey, I'm glad you told my daddy the truth, Zoe said quietly, even when it was scary. You helped save us. Angela knelt down and hugged her. You saved yourself, sweetheart. I just helped a little. They all went inside together. Denise had prepared a celebration dinner. James arrived with flowers. Even Dr. Williams stopped by for dessert. For the first time in as long as Marcus could remember, the house was full of laughter. Real laughter. Genuine joy. The sound of healing. After everyone left, Marcus tucked the children into bed. Eli fell asleep instantly exhausted from the excitement of the day, but Zoe was still awake, her eyes bright in the darkness. Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. Remember when I called you that day when I said my back hurt? I remember every second. Zoe was quiet for a moment. I almost didn't call. I was so scared. I thought you would be mad at me for bothering you at work. I thought you would believe Vanessa instead of me. I thought maybe I deserved what was happening. Marcus felt his heart break all over again. Oh, baby. But then I remembered something Mommy used to say. Zoe's voice grew stronger. She used to say that Daddy loves you more than all the stars in the sky, and even when he's busy, that love is always there. Always. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. She was right. That love was always there. I just forgot how to show it for a while. But you remembered. Zoe reached out and took his hand. When I called, you came. That's all that matters. I will always come. Marcus squeezed her hand. No matter what. No matter when. No matter where I am or what I'm doing. If you need me, I will be there. Promise, I promise on every star in the sky. Zoe smiled and closed her eyes. Good night, Daddy. Good night, sweetheart. Marcus sat with her until her breathing slowed and she drifted into peaceful sleep. Then he walked to his own room and sat by the window. The Atlanta skyline glittered in the distance. Stars peeked through the clouds. Somewhere out there, Maya was watching over them. Marcus thought about everything that had happened. The phone call, the discovery, the trial, the healing, the foundation, the lives that were being changed because one little girl had the courage to speak up. He thought about the man he used to be, the workaholic who valued success above everything, the father who was physically present but emotionally absent, the husband who had failed to see the monster living under his own roof. That man was gone now. In his place was someone new, someone better, someone who understood that love wasn't just a feeling, but a choice made every single day. Marcus picked up the framed photo on his nightstand. Maya smiled back at him, frozen in time, forever young, forever beautiful. I finally get it, he whispered to her. I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. Family isn't about providing. It's about being present. It's about showing up. It's about carrying each other when the weight gets too heavy to bear alone. He set the photo down and looked out at the stars. Thank you for giving me Zoe. He continued. Thank you for giving me Eli. And thank you for believing in me even when I didn't deserve it. I promise I will spend the rest of my life making you proud. A shooting star streaked across the sky. Marcus smiled. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He was exactly where he was supposed to be. A father, a protector, a champion for children who had no one else to fight for them. And that was more than enough. The next morning, Marcus woke to the sound of laughter echoing through the house. He followed the noise to the kitchen where Zoe was teaching Eli how to make pancakes. Flour covered the counter. Batter dripped onto the floor. Eli had somehow got an egg in his hair. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Good morning, Daddy, Zoe called out. We made you breakfast. Marcus looked at the misshapen pancakes, the chaotic kitchen, his two beautiful children covered in ingredients. This is the best breakfast I've ever seen, he said. You haven't even tasted it yet, Zoe pointed out. I don't need to. Marcus pulled them both into a hug, flour and batter and all. Everything you make is perfect because you made it. That's cheesy, Daddy. Zoe laughed. I know, I don't care. They sat down together at the kitchen table. The pancakes were lumpy. The eggs were slightly burnt. The orange juice was pulpy in a way Marcus didn't prefer, but as he looked at his children, their faces bright with joy, their eyes free of fear, their laughter filling every corner of the house, Marcus knew the truth. This was what success really looked like. Not corner offices or board meetings or billion-dollar deals, just this. A family healing together, building something new from the ashes of what had been destroyed. Daddy Eli said suddenly, "Yes, buddy, I love you all the way to the moon." Marcus smiled. "I love you all the way to the moon and back. I love you to infinity," Zoe chimed in. "I love you to infinity and beyond." "That's from a movie," Eli protested. "So it still counts." They dissolved into giggles, and Marcus joined them, laughing until tears streamed down his face. Years later, when people asked him about the moment that changed his life, Marcus always told the same story. "My daughter called me on the worst day of my life," he would say. "She said 3 words that shattered everything I thought I knew. 'Daddy, my back hurts.' And those 3 words taught him the most important lesson he would ever learn. That success isn't measured in dollars or deals or accolades. Success is measured in the moments that matter. The moments when you show up for the people who need you most." Marcus Thompson had spent his whole life chasing the wrong kind of success. But on that rainy afternoon in Atlanta, when his little girl called and said her back hurt, everything changed. He finally came home, and he never left again.